everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to Marketing Monday, and today is Tuesday, but today's edition is going to be a special Ask Us Anything edition, and this came on a minute early so that we can go ahead and share it to our Facebook list. So just one moment. Let's see. It's crazy how time flies, right?
Yeah.
Right post. Tap to change. Come ask us anything. All right. So hopefully everyone had a great long Labor Day weekend. For those of you who are just joining us today and you're not really sure what exactly Marketing Monday is, generally we go live on Mondays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And my name is Helene.
And I'm Will.
And we're #Itude. So today's edition is special because, as you may have seen from the title, it's been 6 months since we launched Marketing Monday, which is pretty crazy, right? So we have a few questions, and thank you, Bree, for joining. I see we already have a viewer. So we have a few questions that we have received previously, but of course, feel free to jump in, ask your questions, and of course, we'll answer those questions as well. We're here for the next 15 to 30 minutes, so if you have lots of questions, feel free to ask them. So the first question that we received from Tali is, how often do you revisit your social media strategy? What do you think, Will?
I was just going to throw it to me on the first try. Read the question, throw the answer.
I'll answer too, but
I think it is healthy to revisit your strategy. Maybe not revise it or change it, but probably once every week to make sure your content is the same, your brand staying on message, you're posting when you should be posting. As far as revisiting the strategy to revamp it or change it up, if one of your key metrics for your return on investment starts to slipping, like your followers aren't increasing, your likes aren't where they need to be, there's some kind of conversion that's not working out, then you should look to revamp your strategy. Maybe the social media climate's changed, maybe some kind of algorithm switches are happening, and you should probably be aware of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's good to check your analytics, not daily. Well, daily, that's actually very good, but at the very least, check them weekly or monthly, and then at that point, revise your strategy as needed. Yes, as Will just said, depending on algorithm changes or what are your key metrics that you're measuring. You know, are people not liking your stuff? Or are they not seeing your stuff? And then, of course, adjusting as you go. But it's always good to stay up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and how they're changing up the technology. So Bree asks, what does the average Joe or Jane need to know about data and analytics to run successful marketing campaigns? Well, it all depends on also what your goals and objectives are for your brand. So, for instance, if you just want to gain more followers, well, that would be one thing that you can keep track of on your analytics. You know, you're looking to see from either week to week or month to month. Okay, are my followers growing? But if you're wanting for those followers to also become customers or clients of yours, then, of course, being able to look at your Google Analytics, being able to see like how many of those visitors actually go and buy your services or your products, linking all that back to your website would be definitely helpful. Do you have anything else to add to that, Will?
I think that the average Joe or Jane does not need to know too much about the specifics for the analytics or how to move in the social media space, because there are plenty of tools that can take up that space. You have Hootsuite, Sprout Social, a couple other platforms like that can manage what you want in your social media, and then they can do that for you by either, I guess, putting out content and other various means like that. So just like what Helene said, as long as you have a clear objective and direction with your social media or presence online, I think that's about all you need to know.
Yeah, I probably got too technical in that answer, so good thing that you added that in, Will. So a question that we got from Mari was about how do you deal with changes on platforms? So for instance, she gave the example of dealing with the link attachment issue on Facebook pages, which that also can get very technical, but Facebook just recently got rid of the option of people publishing to their pages and being able to change the links or descriptions on the article that they share on their Facebook page. Of course, it'd be easier if I could do a screen share for you. But my short answer to that question, though, like how we deal with changes on the platforms, is, like I said, to the first question, adjust your strategy accordingly. I know that in terms of that specific example of Facebook getting rid of the attachment issue, it's, of course, if you're able to change the back end or, the coding or your blog post, etc. of your website, then that can help with this link attachment issue. But of course, if you're not able to do that or someone else manages your website, that's a whole another hairy beast. What do you think, Will?
I was basically, I pretty much agree with everything that you said. I think that question could dive into what kind of changes are being taken place. So like how Facebook changes their algorithm routinely with what they like to promote, what they feel is user friendly to the eyes and things like that, and that can change very, 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 very routinely. You just have to stay ahead of these kind of things.
Yeah.
You don't need to stay in the blogs daily, nothing like that, but you should always be aware of the climate that you're marketing and you're putting yourself in. Just like with the climate in the real world, you would be, or you should be up to date with laws, practices, building codes. All those kind of things are just as real in the online world as it is here. So just staying up to date on those things can really keep you ahead of the game.
And it looks like Bree asked a similar question about how do you keep up with the platform changes. Any resources or tools to help keep track? I would recommend, in terms of any websites that are pretty timely with keeping track of these changes, are socialmediaexaminer.com, but also in terms of the search engine side, there's searchenginejournal.com. I think it's .com. But those two are very good resources for keeping up with the changes in not only social media, but also search engine marketing, because Google is always changing their algorithm as well. All right, so we have a question from Paul asking about, should we still be on Twitter?
In my very blunt opinion, I don't think so. I've never got on Twitter though, so I've never really understood the hype beyond spreading mass awareness for your message or your brand, whatever that might be. I think that's still the basic premise of Twitter. That's still a big driver for companies to stay on Twitter. I just don't see with their platform how that is converting and turning a profit in the same way that Facebook has been able to, Instagram has been able to, and how advertisers have been able to use Snapchat for advertising in different ways. I haven't seen that same crossover appeal happen with Twitter, which is why, outside of brand awareness, I mean, it depends on how much time you wanna invest in that.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, it's interesting that you have that opinion, but I mean, my opinion is that like Twitter is still relevant, but it depends on the industry. Like, I mean, back in the heyday of Twitter, for me at least, in 2013, okay, so that's 4 years ago, Twitter, from that period, I would say up until about last year, Twitter is very good for connecting with others at conferences or having businesses basically being businesses customer service supplement. So, people talking to airlines, being like, hey, either they're giving airlines shout outs, being like, hey, I had a great time with this airline, I flew this airline and they got me there on time, or they like surprised us with special cookies or something like that, or people complaining to the airlines. And a lot of times I'd say that, in terms of customer service, especially for something such as travel or something that's, makes everyone really emotional, either direction. Having a presence on Twitter, and especially if your business is pretty big and you get a lot of people calling your, customer support line or emailing you, it's best to also have a Twitter presence so that then you can answer those questions pretty quickly, though. Because people on Twitter, when they ask a question to a brand, regardless of industry, they do expect a response sooner than later. And if you lag on that and you get a question like yesterday and you're answering even today, people are going to be like, well, I had a question for you yesterday, but I already found the answer. So Twitter is still relevant, but it's not, I would say it's not as big as it used to be, which makes me a little sad because I still like Twitter, but I guess full disclosure, I haven't used Twitter too much lately. So Bree has another question. I'm happy that Bree is asking all these questions too. So her question is, what's the future of bots, and will they mostly help or hurt in marketing automation? Ooh. Well, we just recently had, I think it was a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
We had a topic about chatbots, but also, that's related to chatbots, but in terms of bots as a whole and automation and whatnot, I feel like bots are definitely the future and they can help, but I feel like as humans, being as smart as we are, we will abuse them and they will probably end up hurting marketing automation. Because going back to Twitter, I've seen that happening with some brands where they're using an automation tool, a bot basically, and they're like, okay, whenever someone follows me, I'm going to send them this kind of direct private message. And that really turns off a lot of people, especially on Twitter when that happens. And I've seen that actually starting to happen too on Instagram, where I follow an account and then suddenly I get like a message request, or I get a new private message from them and they're like, hey, thanks for following. Here's all this stuff. Buy stuff from us. And I'm like, no. No, I unfollow them.
Yeah. So the chatbots can be, we did cover this topic.
Yeah.
They can be an amazing resource for marketing, amazingly cheap, easy to use, easy to set up, but the execution, the follow through, the strategy behind it can be extremely complex. Like Colleen was alluding to, you can have chatbots that you think are meant to improve the e-commerce function, but cannot understand tasks about money-related issues or about shipping estimates or shipping dates. Oftentimes, a lot of businesses who employ chatbots, they just see that this machine can say XYZ to their customer for this amount of money, and they buy thinking it's a much easier use. But oftentimes that chatbot causes tons of confusion. We can't communicate with it properly, and it can hurt the brand's reputation. The future is now, though. They're everywhere. They're used all over the internet as fake accounts, spreading fake information, no matter whatever it is, publicity. They're here. I think the future of chatbots will be in how to control them, how to determine what's fake, or what are disingenuous bots, and then what are the genuine marketing strategy,
Yeah, I feel like bots are definitely useful in certain tasks, but in terms of automating relationships, that's definitely not a good reason to use a bot. And I feel like that's what a lot of businesses and also individuals fail at when it comes to implementing bots. They're like, I want to build my relationships with bots. It's like, well, that's not authentic anymore. Like, that's, people can see through it. Like, I can see through when someone leaves me an automated comment on Instagram or sends me an automated direct message on Twitter or Instagram. It's just like, I can see through that. Like, you're not genuinely saying like, hey, welcome. I'm like, I can see that you're trying to sell me something because you're like, hey, buy my book or click through and download my free stuff. But anyway, back to other questions. We have another question asking about Twitter again, but also in general. What's my ROI on social media? So, what's my return on investment on social media?
I can that basically the ROI on your social media will be highly dependent on what you want out of your social media. Do you want your social media to be a springboard for your own personal message? So just increasing followers, increasing your community. So then it can be about how many followers you're getting, how many shares you're getting on your social media, how many people you're connecting with daily on social media, networking in general. Or it could be reversing that interaction into some kind of monetary gain. So you could be using your social media to give promotions, to give discounts. How is that trickling back into your business? Once you figure out what you want out of your social media, then you can start testing things. You can start seeing and is me dedicating 5 hours a week, spending X amount of dollars and giving X amount of promotions for Facebook, for Instagram, for whatever, is it bringing me back the results that I want? And since we don't know your results yet, unless you come and talk to us, that will be highly dependent on you. You just have to know what your results are and how would you find them.
Yeah, and to add on to what Will just said, basically you get what you give, or you basically get what you put into it. So if you're setting up all your social media accounts and you're like, all right, let it go run wild, and you don't do anything with it, well, I mean, that's where your ROI is very low. Like, it's like you're not putting much into it. But if you're putting a lot into it, maybe, and even then, if you're not getting the results that you want, you'll need to reevaluate. Like, do I have my goals clearly stated? Do I know what I'm measuring? Am I just looking at the number of followers, or am I also looking at how many people are clicking on the link in my bio, etc.? So just having a clear plan, but also just knowing like what exactly you're measuring to see about the ROI of social media. That'll help you just decide if it's whether you're getting good ROI or bad ROI. And like I said, you only get what you put into it. So if you're not willing to put much into your social media, then of course that's your answer right there. Another question, and of course I saw that Bree went ahead and went goodbye, which is fine. But thanks for asking all those wonderful questions. Another question that we received in our inbox is, what is a good CPC, or cost per click? How much should I spend? So this is more related to search engine marketing, or more specifically, paid search. So
cost per click, if you're not aware with the terminology, it is how much money should you spend for an online ad, in short. So for example, we're going to change up some of the names, but this is one of our clients that we run AdWords for. They spend roughly about $30 a day in their AdWords campaign. Over the last 7 days, they had roughly 4,000 impressions, which means 4,000 people saw their ad, and 127 people clicked their ad, I believe. With all of that, they got 20 conversions at $9 a conversion. Since this is a gardening service, most of their services are $50 and plus. So it only took $9 to get $41 in profit.
Yeah.
Cost aside. So understanding what you're gonna get back, what your price point is, what your product is, what you're selling, and then and leverage that between how much you're willing to spend per ad on Google AdWords. Generally speaking, staying within the $1 to $2 price range on Google search engine marketing is average, but display ads usually tend to be lower than $1.
Oh, and that brings me to another question, and I realize I flubbed on this. But CPC can actually stand for two things, like what, right? It's like cost per click, but also cost per conversion as well.
Yes, yeah.
So be careful of all the acronyms when you go into the world of AdWords. Oh, look, hey, Tom joined. Hey, Tom. So yes, CPC can stand for two things: cost per click or cost per conversion. So be careful of that. But as Will's example just pointed out, cost per conversion, $9 a conversion. That's not too bad if your services are, a lot more than what that is. So if you're selling services that are like $5,000 and it's $9 a conversion, that's pretty good. Yeah. Of course, if you end up having it being like, hi Tom, we just said hi, but if you end up having like $5,000 a click, I mean that's really bad. So
yeah. Generally speaking, online advertising is the cheapest form of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
It's way cheaper than traditional media. Getting a $2 ad on Google will save you way more money than getting an ad on I-70.
Yeah.
And to Helene's point about the next your ads are costing $5,000. If you leave Google AdWords to its own devices and you do no tweaking, checking up on it, you can begin to invest your money very, very full-heartedly and waste it.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially with AdWords, I'd say that Google, just because you throw more money into it doesn't mean that you're going to be placed higher with your AdWords. And of course, like with social media as well, with AdWords, you need to make sure you're tracking it daily. Mm-hmm. I would say daily because, it changes daily so that you're not just kind of like, fix it and forget it, and then you realize at the end of the month you spent way too much money. Ooh. And I mean, Google, of course, they don't really care if you do. They do care if you do good or bad, but they won't mind if you give them extra money. So, another question we received was, which platform should I use to build my website? So, in terms of website platforms, I would say there's several major players out there right now. There's definitely WordPress, which I'm more biased towards it, just because I've been using it for the last 7 years with employers I've worked with, but also clients that we've worked with. And I would say that even though up front it looks a little intimidating, it's definitely a little more user-friendly, and Google still enjoys ranking those websites a lot better than other kinds of websites. But not to say that that's the only website builder out there. There's also Wix, which I learned on Friday from a current client of ours that actually Wix is the most expensive website builder out there. Like, it might come off, It's your favorite? It might come off seeming like it's pretty simple and easy and plug and play, but when it comes to adding all the extra bells and whistles, it does add up pretty quickly. So that's what I learned on Friday, which I did not know. I just thought I thought Google did not like Wix too much, but right now in terms of SEO purposes, Wix is treated about the same as any other kind of website out there. There's also Squarespace, which is pretty popular with those people who like more, aesthetically pleasing layouts and whatnot, and I would say a lot of photographers use Squarespace if they don't know how to set up a website on their own. There's also Weebly, so a lot of W's, as you can see, WordPress, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, and there's a lot of other website builders out there, but I would say those are the major ones. In terms of which platform should you use, like I said, I'm biased towards WordPress. Sounds like,
I like the drag and drop features for Wix. I think they're extremely easy and they let you customize a lot. But I know something that Helene harps on a lot is edited or customizing things on the back end. So I think the e-commerce function doesn't work real well with Wix, and then some other coding that you need on the back end. You can do much easier on WordPress and other sites like that.
Yeah, so it really all depends on what your needs are in terms of a website. If you want to just drag and drop and build your own website, I would say go with one of those W's. You can even easily build your own WordPress website. It's easy to choose a theme, but in terms of finding the correct plugins and add-ons on the back end, I would say with that, move forward with caution because you could end up breaking your website by accident. So, but I would say that is relevant to any kind of website builder out there. You could break stuff on Squarespace too. Another question. We have 5 more minutes, so of course, any of you who are live, if you'd like to ask more questions to us, please drop it below and we will answer them. But we have other questions that we did receive in our mailbox. So, what is SEO and how does it improve my website?
What is SEO? SEO is everything that you do not pay for online that is your brand. That sounds very confusing, but let's say SEO are blogs, SEO are web pages, SEO are videos, they're facts. All the content that you put online is basically your SEO. All of that combines to increase where you rank on Google, how fast and how readily accessible your content is, and also your website in general. That's different from AdWords and paying Google to place your website on the first page or to get them to place your content on a website. It is your content generating enough buzz to where people find it organically.
Mm-hmm. That's a great explanation. And of course, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. I'd like to also add in terms of what helps with your SEO is also social media.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I guess one myth to bust, which I've been trying to bust for the last 3 years, but people keep insisting on it. Google Plus, posting stuff on Google Plus does not help with your SEO ranking, your search engine ranking anymore, at least not on Google. And in order to confirm that, of course, you need to be searching your search term in an incognito window if you use Google Chrome. And your search results will differ from someone else's search results. For example, my search results for Googling a certain search term will differ from Will's. So, but anyway, Google Plus does not affect the SEO so much, but Twitter does. And I would say any open social media, so Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, any open social media that can be searched and crawled by Google's search engine monster will be able to be displayed on Google. So keep that in mind.
So, and another example, just to make it applicable, we'll use the gardening service from earlier. Mm-hmm. When somebody looks up how to trim hedges, an SEO will be if the gardening service had a couple blogs dedicated to trimming practices. They had some videos on YouTube that will pop up when you search. If you looked that same thing up on Facebook, they would also have the articles all over Facebook. Just making your presence known on the internet whenever someone searches in your industry. Mm-hmm. That's the goal of a good SEO.
Yes. Oh, 3 more questions and 3 more minutes. Mm-hmm. So, of course, if any of you who are live, if you have any questions, make sure you drop them in before we head off. Okay, so one more question. What is it like working with an agency? Who asked that question?
CEO, answer that, please.
Well, working with an agency is definitely an investment, but it's also a worthwhile investment as long as you choose the correct agency. Of course, we're biased, and we'd say work with us. But with a good agency, there'll be clear communication, but also working with an agency will help you organize your digital marketing elements a lot more. So, if you're feeling disorganized right now with your Facebook, with your email list, with your blog, etc., working with an agency will not only help with organizing that aspect, but an agency will also provide a nice, I would say, a refreshing outside perspective on how to refine your strategy and make more bang for your buck. So that's the short answer to that. But of course, if you're interested in learning more, you can ask us through email or direct message. Next question. Do I have to be on every social network? Well, let's get...
No, my answer, you don't need to be on Twitter. But Helene's point is extremely true. Depending on how big your brand is, for Walmart to not be on Twitter would be ridiculous. Best Buy, AT&T, these large brands with these large reputations should be interacting with customers because customers are going to be interacting with them frequently. Outside of that, Twitter's okay. I think Facebook is crucial. Instagram, depending on how artsy your industry is. Snapchat, depending on how young your market, your audience is. But I think Facebook and a good blog is about all you need.
That's a good short answer. Of course, we can expand on that later on if you have more questions about that. Last question. I'm in a boring industry. Do I still need social media? I think yes. There's definitely ways to use social media even when you're in a quote-unquote boring industry.
Boring people have social medias.
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, and it all depends on your audience. If you're looking more for other businesses or business owners or business professionals to network with, using LinkedIn, it would be more beneficial to your business brand versus using Twitter or Snapchat. But if you have a young audience, yes, using Snapchat would be good, even if it is a little of a boring industry for young people. Just staying relevant with what your industry is or what your industry has, but also what your target audience wants.
Yes.
That helps with staying relevant, and then you're not so boring anymore.
Yes. If your target audience is not interested in Instagram or Snapchat, it's not wise to get one. Don't appeal to an audience that does not care for you. So to just highlight what Helene said, follow your audience. Post what they want to see. Give them good quality information.
And if you feel like your stuff is still boring, definitely chat with us and we can help you figure out some new angles to go about your boring content.
Yeah.
Wow. So that last bit became a lightning round. And that's all we have for the Ask Us Anything segment. But in conclusion, this week's blog post will highlight the top Marketing Mondays we've done this last 6 months. So, we'll just compile a few of them that are relevant to you, or not relevant to you, but a few of them that are most successful, and you'll learn more through the replays. And that's what this week's blog post and theme is. We're celebrating the 6 months. It's crazy. Time flies. Upcoming events that are happening in Denver are this Saturday is the Women of Denver Quarterly Networking Party, which we're always a Women of Denver partner. So if you are available on Saturday, there are still tickets available, and I'll drop a link below after this replay posts. Also, our lunchtime social media stroll is happening 2 weeks from today, so it's actually the last one of 2017. So make sure you join us. It'll be from 11:30 to 12:30, so lunch hour that day, and topic to be determined, but we always have a fun topic to chat and discuss about as we walk around Civic Center Park. And as always, just a reminder, we are always accepting new clients. If you know of businesses that have at least 10 employees and have a minimum marketing budget of $12,000 a year, hit us up. In terms of industry, we always have a soft spot for food and beverage businesses, but of course, if you feel that your business qualifies for the first two qualifiers we just listed, feel free to reach out to us. And we'll see you next week for next week's topic and theme. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.